Here, when I did my 30-day challenge, which I might re-up soon, I talked about my favorite setting in D&D being urban, basically being in cities. I think it's more interesting than the forests and being in dungeons. I know they're all, you have to have dungeons, it's Dungeons and Dragons, but the urban setting is my favorite. So this is the top 5 reasons why it's better. Number 5, it's easier for the players to relate to their characters. Let's face it, sometimes it's hard for players to relate to their characters when they're doing all these crazy things in dungeons and forests and the astral sea and all these other various realms. But, and this is kind of where some of the role playing comes in, we can all relate to waking up in our beds in the morning and, waking up and going to eat breakfast or something. What's the first thing your character does when they wake up? Well, if your character is in a city, they'll have more of their normal life, basically. It's also, you can have some fun role playing things like how do people in the town react to things like magic? How do people in the town react to monstrous races such as half orcs or dragonborn if you're playing 4th edition? Certain spells like, necromancy spells, raising undead, if you cast them in a dungeon, no one cares. If you cast it in the middle of a town, people will probably care. So, even when you have the bad guys attack the city, if it's the players' hometowns, it's going to mean a lot more that city is being attacked than some random town. So helping the players relate to their characters is an important aspect of running an urban adventure. Number 4, more creative skill usage. Well, basically, since players aren't used to being in towns all that often or cities, when they're in towns and cities for prolonged periods of time, they'll find interesting ways to use their skills. I've had players use dungeoneering checks in order to identify streets and try to find shortcuts through streets. I had a player use a heal check on a dead body to try to figure out how the person was killed. So spending a time, because the city is more exotic to the players, which is weird, than dungeons and things like that, they'll come up with new ways to use their skills because, quite frankly, they aren't used to using their skills in this setting. Number 3, WTF. Again, this leads back to towns and cities being more exotic than dungeons. Let's just say your party is walking through a dungeon, an explosive rune goes off, and the party takes half damage. No big deal, they'll probably just heal up and keep going. Now let's just say that same explosive rune goes off in the middle of the town, in the middle of the day, and innocent people are killed, and your players take damage. Now it's a whole big thing. Who was the target? Was it them? Was it some innocent person? Are they trying to be killed? They're going to try to figure out who did it. Because it's so different, it's the same exact, just a simple trap now becomes an entire story arc if you want it to be. Number 2, you can come up with the best stories. Just like I said before, with the explosive rune going off in the middle of the town, you can come up with crazier stories when the same thing that will happen anywhere else happens in the middle of a city. I had this one adventure where goblins attacked the town, but what they did was they attacked the magic shop and took all the magic items. So these goblins were running around with magic items, just destroying the town, and the players had to go and get them back. Also, there's another dynamic there. The players now need to protect the townspeople and even the town itself instead of just, being in the wilderness and just throwing fireballs everywhere. So, like I said, you can come up with more creative stories just by switching the setting into a city. Number 1, increased social interaction. Honestly, we all, as DMs, are trying to figure out ways to increase role-playing, increase social interaction, just try to get people out of their shells. By placing your entire adventure in the middle of a city, their players are going to have to spend most of their time interacting with other people and role-playing. Very few problems can be solved with a sword when you're in the middle of a town. As I said with number 5, you also can play with how the townspeople react to them, how they react to monstrous races, how they react to spells. Even, let's just say, for instance, the players go into a dungeon and beat the big bad guy. To be honest, very few people care. Maybe the one person that sent them down there. Let's say the same big bad guy attacks the town and the players defeat him. Now there's going to be hundreds, even thousands of people just throwing themselves at the players, and it's going to make them feel so much better. There's a lot more social interaction by simply placing your adventures in an urban setting. Now, I'm not saying every single adventure should be in an urban setting, but like I said, it's my favorite, and actually, my current campaign I'm doing, I have not even gone into a dungeon yet, and my players are level 6. Everything's been in cities. So, those are my top 5 reasons why running urban adventures are the best. Do you have any reasons that you want to add to the list? Um, any reasons why running urban adventures suck, even though they don't? Just leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to get back to you. That's it for this video.